There she is. I love what you're wearing.
Thank
you're wearing
you.
You're wearing today when I posted stuff to promote this live, I promoted it in like red and pinks. And you're literally like wearing this your sweater is like the epitome of what the color.
Don't worry, it is a short sleeve sweater.
I mean, only someone crazy like me would notice something like that. I'm like, oh look, Ashley's sweater matches the color of my post.
I love that. We're in sync.
I know. What a busy day, right? You're super busy today.
Sorry it's so late for you.
It happens. No, it's a great time for us.
Okay, good.
It's an excellent time for us. So
hopefully everyone's like laying in bed and bored and.
No, this is absolutely a great time for us to be doing this. I'm going to turn off the comments because
it's distracting.
So it is distracting. You do find it. I like that feedback. It's distracting.
Well, only when I'm trying to say something and I'm like, hold on, is someone asking me a question? Like for me,
yes,
I don't think it's distracting when I'm watching one necessarily, but definitely I'm easily distracted.
No, I like hearing that feedback. I think that's good to hear. Yeah, because I've you do a bunch of these and then you sort of realize like what works and what doesn't. So to hear that from you is
I'm sure it's different for everyone as well, right?
Yes, it is, but I think that makes sense because I feel like it's the same for me too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have great questions for you.
Yay.
We're live with Ashley Streicher. Our podcast with Ashley launched today.
It did?
The link, yes.
Oh.
It launched today. So this is our podcast pre-party, as we like to say. The link is actually in the title. But we will lead everyone to where to find it, Story and Rain Talks. Before we get into all the great questions from our guests and our followers and our fans and other people that have been guests of Story and Rain actually wrote in as well. I have to say, so every time we do a podcast, we sort of wrap with people's tastemaker picks. And of course, I wanted to talk to you about the things that you're watching and, using and reading. And I think especially right now, just to preface, sort of during quarantine and sort of pandemic times, which is super bizarre that we're all dealing with this, but we are dealing with it. I think it's really important to share what we're reading, what we're watching. I think that's such a great thing to kind of share amongst one another. But I have to say this. I'm saying all this because I dug into, it's the Anna Kendrick show on HBO
Love Story.
Max. It's not Love Story. It's called Love Life, I think.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Okay.
We should make sure we say the right one.
We researched it. The team researched it.
Okay.
It actually, I think, is Love Life as opposed to Love Story.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hold on. I cannot believe I hadn't found it sooner. This is so up my alley. I was literally just watching it now.
Oh,
it's so good. Is she one of your clients, Ashley, or no?
No.
How did you?
No, I've been around her a lot, but no, I've never actually worked with her. But yeah, she's good, right? She's good in this.
It's so good. I'm just digging in and it's great. And anyway, so just to kind of give everyone the full scope is that one of the things that Ashley's watching right now is this series on HBO Max featuring Anna Kendrick called Love Life.
Love Life.
But there are a number of other things that Ashley mentions that she's sort of watching and consuming and using and all that good stuff. So make sure you take a look at that. So let's get into the questions.
Great.
Okay, the first one is from Taylor.
Okay.
What is your favorite or most memorable red carpet look? Like, is it hard to sort of pick those out and think of them more? Yeah, because there have been so many for you at this point, right? Like,
yeah, and I think I speaking for myself, I never love anything right when I do it. But years later, like when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, that was so rad. It's hard for me to like give myself compliments or be like, oh, that
Reflect.
was so amazing.
Reflect, right?
Yeah. But it's funny though, because when I look back, I'm always like, oh my God, that was so cool. And one in particular, actually a couple in particular that I look back on, I was like, whoa, I was really bold. Joanna Newsom, who is a singer-songwriter, I think she's like one of the coolest people ever.
Yeah.
She is married to one of my clients, Andy Samberg, that I used to work with all the time.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah.
I used to get to do her hair for all of like his red carpets. And we would have so much fun. First of all, if you know her, she had hair down to her waist.
Yes,
and just
I remember
like
seeing,
thick.
But that's right. That's right.
So she just had like hair, and she let me do so many fun things. One time we did like this like amazing braided thing, and she wore, I don't remember what dress it was, but it was she wore a cloak with a hood. And I had to like sew the hood onto her braid.
It was
like,
that's fun. So what did you do? You actually sewed the hood onto the braid so
it was like half off her head.
Actually,
it was like this.
I'm assuming you did that because you wanted enough, like as a stylist and a perfectionist, it's sort of the objective was to have the right amount of braid showing and the right amount of hood showing.
Exactly.
Right? So guys, this is the stuff that people don't think about, but like why it's sort of like why are you sewing a braid onto it? It's because of that. Because if you do that, right, you're not getting too much hood, you're not getting too much braid, and if you're getting too much hood or too much braid, it could be a fail very easily, right?
Or what if the hood comes off at the wrong time, or it's
right.
Putting someone on the red carpet and not having any control over what is going to happen is a terrifying thing.
It is. Okay. It's interesting. No one has ever quite put that way before, and I never really thought about it quite until now. That you know, as a creative and as a professional, you work so hard to make sure that the red carpet look is immaculate, right? But it's a real life moment that's happening, right?
Yeah. So, you do what you can. I mean, you do what you can, but also you have to just like
give it up to the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be surprised with the things that I have in my hair kit. I mean, like I have like a sewing kit, you know what I mean? Like things like that you like wouldn't think of, but you have to have just in case, you never know. So yeah.
What else do you have in your kit that you could share that is sort of, you know, that people
random? I have like a pair of running shoes and like, cause you just never know where you're gonna,
never know.
A sun hat. Yeah. Just like my trunk is just full of stuff.
Yeah. No, I get it. Things that you wouldn't expect. And you learned about that from all the sort of unexpected moments that culminate over the years. Dina is asking, have you ever had to completely change a look moments before an event or an appearance? And if so, what was that? Oh gosh, it's giving me anxiety just thinking about it. Yeah.
Well, I haven't done a red carpet it's been at least 6 months, right? How long have we been in this thing?
A while.
Also, I think we do that a lot. I think we change very last minute a lot. Like I would say 20% of the time, like at the very last minute, we'll change a lip or like we'll change something, and then you know, a side needs to go back or the hair needs to go back or come down. So it actually happens quite often, I would say. Too often for me to even pick one out that I could think of. I think
that's actually really interesting. That's interesting to share that, because I think that's something that another thing that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know is that you don't really know until you know. And when a look comes together,
right?
For as much as you can plan for it, where you know your wardrobe's been prepped and hair concept has been prepped and everything else has been prepped, and just logistics of the day have been prepped. Until it all comes together, it's hard to know what's like actually working. And I guess, would you say that you guys take pictures and kind of get it all together and
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely we do like
I
as
think
much
that's
like
another thing that people don't realize is that like once the look sort of comes together, right? You
yeah.
capture photos to say, okay, we nailed it, or we didn't, or
Yeah. There's lots of last minute changes for sure, always. Because yeah, you just never know how you're gonna feel.
Right, and you're right, and it's really, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the person themselves and how they feel,
Right.
and what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
Alex has a question about your style, which is very natural. What is your I like this question actually. What is your approach when clients either have or ask for extensions?
Oh,
like, what's your take on that?
I love that I'm thought of as natural, which I am. Like my hair is like, I don't do my hair. However, I very rarely don't use extensions. I use extensions on almost every single red carpet client that I do.
That because so
and it doesn't. It's actually a compliment to me to think that you don't know that, because I don't want, like, you shouldn't know necessarily that a client has extra hair in. But yeah, almost always I add hair for some reason or another. It's oftentimes it's easier to hold, or if you're putting it back and just adds more,
makes it better.
I almost always use extensions.
Braid. Yeah. What hair do you have? Like, is there a hair that you like to use? Or is it on a weft? Is it loose? Is it?
I personally like the tape-ins. They're skin wefts, so they're really like thin, and I stick them directly like on the parting. And those come off really easily, or if you want, they can stay on for like 3 days.
That's right.
But yeah, I think those look the most natural.
You do, the tape-ins.
I do.
Wow. Okay, that's good. That's good advice, guys. Stacy.
The most natural, let me correct, the most natural for when you're doing like one look. Like if you were putting hair extensions in to live your life, I know that I don't know about. Yeah.
Right. When you're, that's even better advice, right?
Yeah.
So when you're doing one look, you have so many options, right? You can go so many ways. But if you use tape-ins, you're really achieving the most natural like look. If you're designing a look for yourself, that's like a look for the night or a look for an event. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
What's the longest day you've ever spent working with a client? Stacy was asking this.
I would say the longest day. So it's funny. I don't do movies or TV. So those are long days. Those are really long days. So the people that are like on set doing somewhat like a whole episode of a show, like those poor hairdressers are there very long days. I don't do that. I do more like red carpet and editorial. However, every once in a while I'll do like a commercial with a client, and those are really long days, especially for me because I'm not used to being on set for that long.
Commercial day, Ashley?
Well, the good news there is that usually I'm working with a celebrity client, and they don't ever have them there for longer than like 12 hours, I would say, which is still a long time.
I mean, to a lot of people, that's a long day to be on set. It's one thing to be owning to be in that setting. If you know what that setting is like, that's a long day.
The long part about it is that you're like, oftentimes you're like rushing to get someone ready, and then you're waiting. It's like hurry up and wait all day long. So it really is like an energy sucker. So yeah, but. Yeah.
Liv is asking, what is the best thing? I love this question too, because I didn't ask this question. I probably should have on the podcast. Yeah. What is the best thing about working with your sisters? I work with my sister and we fight like crazy. So.
Okay. I would say the best thing about working with my sisters is that we don't all do the same thing. I think that would be disastrous if like Christy did hair and there was like that direct competitive nature.
Yeah.
But I think because we don't all do the same thing is why it works. And we actually have very similar aesthetic and like what we perceive to be
I
beautiful.
love
And
that.
so that is really helpful in working with someone and working as a team, especially to have that like sort of common, you know, like we all
Common ground,
agree.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place where you all land together.
Exactly.
So
when it comes to
even if there are other
beauty,
things that are up for debate, you're
totally
always going to land on creative. You're always
exactly. It's
yeah.
interesting because when we're at work, we almost never like it doesn't feel like normal sister stuff. When we're outside of work, like when we're all at dinner, like that's another story. But
right.
when we're all at work, we sort of have like we can agree on things. It's weird.
I get that.
Yeah.
Ella, do you have any tricks or products you recommend for moisturizing hair?
Moisturizing hair.
Yeah. Do you like do any leave-in conditioners or any?
I mean, I made a leave-in conditioner.
You did, yeah.
I did. It's called Suncatcher.
Yes,
great for moisture. But
I'm
no,
glad you
like
have Suncatcher because I have Dream House.
oh, well, I have both just because I wanted to share them with you later. But they're both actually really moisturizing. But no, if you need like severe moisture, my tip would be.
That's what she's asking about.
Yeah.
Sort of like it's not even conditioning any longer; it's moisturizing.
Yeah. I think the best thing to do for that is to actually like pre-moisturize. Instead of doing like a mask in the shower, I like to get like a great oil that really like absorbs in your hair and slather it on before you wash your hair so that your hair's like absorbing it. I think like a pre mask is really good for that.
Pre-mask. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yana, what's the best haircut for fine hair?
I would say a very blunt bob with no layers at all.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Very specific. I like that.
Very specific. Yeah.
Marissa,
keep it heavy.
Is there a look that I like? This is a question that I like because is there a look that you used to do that you've since retired? Is there something that was like a thing that you did that was a signature that you're like, can't do it anymore, won't do it anymore?
Signature.
I don't know. Just something you used to do all the time that maybe you're not.
I think with hair, it's like always coming back around again.
Cyclical.
Sometimes I'm surprised that I'm like doing things that I did a long time ago that maybe even I didn't like as much then.
That's interesting.
But it's coming back around in like a way. I would say I used to do color. Like when I first started doing hair, I did everything. And I would say that I don't know. I guess that's something I used to do what was the question? That I'm doing again or that I wouldn't do?
It was, is there a look that you used to do that you've since retired? I mean, I think that means sort of anything. I think it means like cut or color or
I would say I used to color. Yeah, I used to like only want to do haircuts if I colored hair as well because I feel like it's like completing a look. Right. And now I can't even imagine doing color. I don't know how. I don't like. So respect.
You don't even want to go there.
I don't. Yeah. No.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hillary, what haircut do you think is most chic right now?
Oh, I have to say I really love a pixie right now. I think women and just people in general are getting so much more brave and taking more like, I don't know, I think people are like branching out and I've been seeing a lot of very cute short crops that I love. I think that's very chic.
Are there any rules for a short crop, would you say? I mean, I know you probably don't want to like limit someone from thinking out of the box, but like tell us about what your rules for pixie, because pixie is bold, right? Totally.
I think the best thing to do for a pixie cut is like do your research, find pictures, show pictures. Also, if I was going to get a pixie cut, I would make sure that the person who's cutting my hair is like very confident in cutting pixies and like that's you know, because everyone has like their own thing that they specialize in, and I just think it's such an important haircut that you can easily get wrong and it could be traumatizing for people. So I would just make sure to like know that whoever's cutting your hair is like really like confident.
That's excellent advice because you're right. Pixie is a bold cut. And I get that. Sasha, what hair would you say is out right now?
Ooh. Oh, I hate saying what would be out. And because honestly, Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to like
rain on anyone's parade. But is there something that just isn't let's talk about let's reframe.
Yeah.
Is there something that isn't necessary any longer and that people should realize that they don't need to do?
I mean, I think probably, especially right now, over styling your hair. I don't really think anyone is. Actually, I take that back. People definitely are. Yeah, I think now is not a time to be like really going for your hair and overstyling it.
Busting out.
Is that a thing? Like overstyling?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, I think what you're saying is there are many people that have the whole like curling iron routine or the flat iron routine. We talk about this on the podcast. We talk about like how you just want to change the way that people think in terms of this. There became this whole sort of movement. I would call it a movement for sure.
Yeah.
That was popular about blowouts. It's like all about a blowout, and it's sort of like now's not. You don't need to rely on those things, and if you're smart about how you do your hair, you don't have to.
Also, I think like having a blowout and having your hair done. Hello, like that's what I do. So of course I but like on the everyday, and I just don't think anyone's really like going to events right now. So I just feel like it's maybe not a time for overstyling.
I think
in general.
it's great to have a counterpoint to that. Like
totally,
when you're not able to blow out your hair or get it blown out, this is what the go-to look is, right?
And then it makes you feel so good when you do have somewhere to go where like you need to be done for. It's like makes it so much better, I think.
It makes it special.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Lori wants to know, what do your celebrity clients ask for the most? I feel like we did touch on this too on the podcast. What are celebrities asking for the most these days? I guess celebrity trends is sort of what we're talking about.
I think because there are so many amazing hairstylists and so many we're like overabundant, that when someone is coming for me to do their hair, for the most part they're asking for me to do like undone hair. Like it's like a certain type of hair that I do that I like, that's a little bit more undone. What else?
Yeah, I get that. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Natural.
Yeah.
I like this question too. Are you Leela, are you back to work full time now? How are you working during the pandemic?
Oh my God, it's been like such a roller coaster. I don't even know where I'm at right now, to be honest. Yes, I am working. I'm definitely not working as crazy as I was a year ago. Not even close. But I also think that I think everyone was working too much, and everyone was like, it was
in total
too
agreement
much
with that. Yeah.
So
I think there are many of us that say we were just on a hamster wheel that was just, I mean, I think with this, with how, we're sort of matching the pace that technology is going at, and that's hard for human beings to do.
It's crazy,
right?
Yeah, but I will say it's like I'm doing more client work.
Good.
So yeah, I think just the last couple of weeks I've done more like photo shoots, which obviously look totally different, but it's interesting. They're coming back slowly, very slowly and very differently. But yeah, I think that's happening more, and we're able to work outside at Strike. So, but not in full capacity. I think we have 3 stations out there. So slowly but surely continuing to work in different ways, pivoting, if you will, in all the different areas. So
that's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It's great to hear that.
Yeah.
Zena, do people ever ask you for a total makeover, and are those tricky to do? She says that for some reason the pandemic is making her want to switch up her look. I get that. I think a lot of people are getting just bored in general. And I think like one of the, it's that whole thing too, where it's like when you want to kind of shake something up in your life, whether it's like you
Yes,
just went through a breakup or you just went through
for sure.
or going through a pandemic. The you know, some people might want, you know, I think there's probably two schools of thought, right? Like some people might want to play it really safe and not rock the boat. And I think there are a lot of people that are like, I just need something different. I just want to look different.
Well, it's really interesting.
So her question is, do people ask you for that a lot? I mean, I would
Yeah.
think that like, because you're known for a certain style and a certain look, people probably walk in all the time sort of saying like, can you change me up? Does that happen?
Yeah, happens all the time. I tend to do a lot of like big chops. But it's interesting because I think in order for you to really have like a different look completely, you can have like any haircut in the whole entire world, but if you're styling it the same and you don't change up the way that you're doing your hair, it can very easily somehow go back to looking exactly the same. So I really try to work with clients in teaching them how to like actually change, even if it's not a chop. It could just be styling your hair different that really like makes a huge difference. So yes, I do a lot of that for sure. And sometimes it takes several appointments in order to like actually get the change happening.
I love that it's not necessarily about like a radical color change or a radical chop. It's about like, just do this, style your hair differently. We talk a little bit about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to hear more about that. Jean, which types of celebrity freelance jobs come with the most pressure?
Ooh.
What would you say, Ashley? I mean, I don't know. Is it press junkets because the day's so tight? No, it's not.
Those are like the most
Those
fun.
are like when you're hanging with your people.
Exactly. Those are those are like the most easy going. I honestly, I would say like a big red carpet for a client that's like has a huge role in it. Because those times usually the celebrity is actually very nervous, and like that's when I feel a lot of pressure, is when it's like high stakes and they're nervous or they're not like, you know, they want to feel
they've
confident.
been invited to an event where whether they're nominated or presenting or even just attending, it's sort of they're there to be center stage, and it's sort of like they're there to be noticed, they're
there to be picked apart as well. So it's tough for
those stakes are high.
Yeah.
I get that. Elizabeth, how often do you wash your hair? I like that simple question. I'm curious.
Well, Elizabeth, I just washed my hair, so.
But what is your philosophy on hair washing, Ashley?
My philosophy is it totally depends on your hair type. Like, it's so hard to make like a blanket statement. For me, I have pretty fine hair. It could easily get greasy. However, I've trained it to not, like, I don't use a ton of product. I keep it pretty clean product wise, and I wash it probably every 4 days, depending on the time of year. Sometimes of the year I notice that I have to wash it more. It gets just like heavier and greasier, and I don't know. It's not necessarily in the summer or the winter. It's just like, it depends on the air and the water.
Your body chemistry.
Totally. Hormones. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and it's so hard to tell. I mean, unless I can touch and feel your hair and know what you do on the daily and know, could I tell you how much I think you should wash your hair? So it depends on your lifestyle and your hair texture and all of that.
What's interesting is that I always thought that adding product to hair, I mean, I guess I always think of product adding bulk and not grease, but it's true. Like, if you've weighed your down, it's a fine line, right, Ashley? Like, you can either bulk it up and make it feel chunkier, or it can also just like, after a few days, it could start to separate and just get like down, right? Yeah,
and it depends what product you're using and what types of products you're using. I mean, there's so much that goes into everyone's individual.
I like this question because we also sort of talked a little bit about this on the podcast, because I think that we know that hair accessories are having a resurgence. They're really popular right now. So Grace is asking, what is your favorite type of hair accessory? Do you have like one type of hair accessory that's like a little bit of a go-to for you?
Right now, because my hair is short, I've been wearing a lot of like chunky headbands. But right now. So, but I also love I love it depends on what
And
I'm
what
doing
about
with
for
my hair.
clients? Is there a go-to? Because I would think that with clients,
Mhm.
and again, to go back to even just like what is the nature of your aesthetic,
Yeah,
is that especially with clients like celebrities, I feel like you have to really avoid anything looking too costumey, right? Like,
totally. And we talked about this.
we
Yeah, I
talked
think
about this. So is there a hair accessory that you feel like is always a safe bet for not looking overdone? I don't know.
it just depends on what you're doing and what you're going for. Like if you're dressed up and you're like going to an event and you want to wear a hair accessory, I would say
Right.
probably minimal, like dress it down unless you are trying to dress your hair up. Like I think a hair accessory can very easily look like too much. But if you have like messy undone hair and then add a hair accessory, it ends up looking cool because you're not
Yeah,
like
we did
trying.
talk about this.
Yeah.
So it's not even about anything else other than the hair texture and style itself has to be a counterpoint
Like counteract
to the
almost.
opulence or non-opulence of the accessory.
I think so. And also what you're wearing and how much makeup you're wearing. Like I think
Yeah,
that all
then the
has
whole
a lot to-
picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Sarah, have you? This is funny. I like this though too. Have you ever tried to mix or make your own product? If so, what? Have you ever done? I'm sure you have, right?
Like on my own, like
yeah,
for sure. I remember when I first started doing freelance and I would go to photo shoots and need like I definitely made my own salt spray, but not with like table salt, but with other products. Like there was this really amazing, it was Hans de Foucault made this like water soluble pomade that I mixed with like salt and water and made like this. Yeah, the long short of the long question is yes, I've definitely dabbled
I
in.
love it.
I've always
And
wanted
it's like
to make my own product.
like a beach hair spray.
Yeah.
And
But
Vivian
from other products, not
right.
from like, yeah.
Vivian has a question about your R & Co, your recent, partnership with R & Co, which we love and we talk a lot about also on the podcast. But she's asking if you could sort of explain the process that you went through to create your products. How did that work?
So yeah, it took me a really long time to, I guess, find a hair brand that I wanted to do it with. I was really picky and I wanted it to feel like me, and R & Co is definitely like the best fit for me in so many ways. And then, yeah, so they're based in Miami, like the East Coast, Miami and New York. So it was really interesting. We had a few in-person meetings and I told them what I wanted, like the collection of products that I wanted to make and sort of like the story around them. And I wanted it to be a story. And I definitely wanted to create a product line that felt like me in like California, like a California
It
loose.
really does. It really does.
Thank you.
I think we said this too when we were talking last week, that, or at least I was saying that, I think the overall aesthetic feels very much in sync with your own aesthetic.
Yeah. I mean, it was so easy to like, I think and listen, this is my only experience, but it felt really easy for us to like vibe with each other and for me to tell them what I wanted and them to like be like, oh, we'll try this. And it actually was like a fairly like painless process with them making exactly what I wanted. And that includes the fragrance, which was, we talk about like probably the scariest part, just because fragrance is so sensitive for people using hair.
I love that. And I think that's something that people don't, I mean, a professional like you who has been like culling this information for so many years from so many different types of people would have this insight, right? That people are very sensitive to fragrance, or people have opinion, not necessarily they're sensitive to it. Some people aren't at all, but people
are when it comes to hair product, because it's like
They have opinions. They have strong
Very much. Very much. And yeah, I think it's different when you are in control of like what you're putting on your body as far as perfume goes. But if you think about it, every hair product has a fragrance. And if you're like, I'm the same way. Like there's some hair products that I like cannot even be around because it's like, it's too much or it just doesn't, I don't know.
There are very few. I can name like 2 or so products that had a really funky, because I'm a fragrance person, so
Right.
I'm very open that way. I like fragrance in general.
Yeah.
But there are a few products that have been launched, big products,
Yeah.
fancy products.
Yeah.
Where I thought like, I don't know what they were trying to achieve with this scent, but this scent is actually like funky. It's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But so is that where you started in the process of product development with R&Co? Did you guys start with fragrance or did you start with like, components?
I knew that I wanted to have one fragrance for the capsule collection, for my collection. And I knew that it was going to be a big deal because it was the first new fragrance for R&Co since they've started. They have started with 5 fragrances for all of their products. So this was going to be like this
number 6,
but also it was very much going to set my products apart from the rest of the
So
products.
it was out of
and like people were either going to really love it or not.
Yeah.
So it was, so it coincided. So we did it sort of both at the same time. And honestly, the fragrance took as long as developing all 3 products.
I'm sure.
It took a very long time to get it exactly the way that I wanted it. And I'm very happy with it, I have to say. So
yeah, it's so beautiful. I say
Thank
that
you.
It's just like one of the things that I was saying is that, well, here it is. Let's just play with this is Dream House.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about like what the products do.
Yep.
But it has sort of your signature light-handed touch. It's
Very
just much. There's a scent that's distinct, but it's also really light-handed. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and also with the products' efficacy themselves, like I wanted it to be multi-use. I want all the products to be multi-use and for a lot of people to be able to use them, not just one certain hair type. So they're all very buildable. You can use a little bit if you have super fine hair or not a lot of hair and be fine. Or if you have a ton of hair, you can really like build on them. They work together. They work alone. For me, like for myself, when I'm doing my own hair, I don't like to use a lot of product, but obviously when I'm doing other people's hair, it depends on their hair and sometimes you need to use a lot of product. So I definitely wanted to make something that was buildable.
Well, actually, can I ask you, do you have that, is that wave in your hair natural or is that something that you
Yes, I just let it air dry. This is air dried. It's still like a little bit damp and I let it air dry with, first I put in Suncatcher, like right when it's wet out of the shower.
Let's take a step, just for the sake of the conversation.
Okay.
Can you take us through your products, what they are, what they're made with, and what they do?
Yeah, so first is Suncatcher. I made this first because everyone can use it. It is a great base for everyone's hair. It is full of hyaluronic acid and vitamin C and tons of vitamins and nutrients. So basically this is going to be like your first step in skincare, but for your hair. So it's very, very light. It's not going to add any like hold at all or really any like heaviness. I don't know if you can see, but it still keeps your hair really, really light and full.
Very.
But it softens it and gives it a little bit of defrizz. So for me, it's like the perfect ultimate product for my own hair type. And then for Dream House, I wanted to make a product that was for waves and for natural texture because I'm trying to get people to sort of embrace what you have naturally and sort of amplify it, if you will. And so many people have wave that don't even know that they have it. And it's just sort of a technique on like how to pick
pull
it up.
how to tease it out.
Yeah. And so this is a very light wave spray. It's in a tiny bottle because a little goes a long way.
I love that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I love
For
it.
me,
It's also very travel friendly.
Very travel. You can, yeah, I've been traveling with this. I like to spray it on my hand and just like squeeze it into my hair. But basically it's a wave amplifier. It adds shine and a little bit of texture. I wanted to give the illusion of like being near the ocean, not necessarily being in the ocean. So like a windblown, separated wavy texture.
It's not like tacky, sticky beach hair. It's like hair that's been in ocean breeze.
Exactly.
Which is a little bit of humidity and a little bit of,
And like it adds a ton of shine. It's actually more moisturizing than even the Suncatcher. It has a lot of moisture in it.
That's a fun fact.
And shine. It makes your hair super shiny. Oh, and then I have one more product coming out before the end of the year, which is happening very soon.
When is it? Zigzag?
Zigzag. It's called Zigzag.
Exciting.
And it is an aerosol spray.
I love an aerosol. They work so well.
Totally.
They just do.
Staying in the texture family. But yeah, it's good.
But it's an aerosol for texture.
Yes.
And then Suncatcher. Explain Suncatcher. It's a leave-in.
Suncatcher is the leave-in, the vitamin one. So it's full of vitamins and nutrients and like a softener, a great base story for everything else to go on top of.
Perfect. So the scent that you developed, do you remember what the exact components are, Ashley?
I do.
Scent? Yeah.
So we started, I started with, what did I give? I actually like gave them sticks of Palo Santo. But I was like,
yes, we talked about that.
I was like, you have to burn it though. Like you can't just like smell the wood. You have to like actually burn it.
Yeah, because it's totally different.
By the way, I've been wanting to, like, this has been in my head for so long that I would like gather shrubs and stuff from Big Sur, like various places that I love to go to in California. So I had like actual.
This is my Big Sur candle, by the way. Do you know about D&S Durga Big Sur?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've been collecting samples from all around California for a long time for this moment. So lots of like woods. But then, so, you know, we go with an initial start and then I say, oh, I want like a little bit more note of like a cedar or, you know, so then you have to be a little bit more.
You start with the components and then you set about balancing it, right?
Exactly. Balancing. Exactly.
So what's the top note, would you say? What's the most prominent? Earthy or woodsy or?
I would say probably woodsy, but everyone sort of says something different. It's woodsy, but it's not woodsy enough to be like masculine necessarily. Like there's a sweetness to it somehow.
Yeah, it's really
and like a freshness as well. It's not too heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a question from Maddie, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but let's answer her question. How many styling products do you typically use on people's hair, and does it matter? What is your take on layering product or amount of product?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're doing and how long you need it to last for.
Of course.
I find that like, and obviously your hair type, again, like the blanket statement of like how many, it totally depends on your hair and what you're doing with it. I would say, yeah, if you're going for like a really soft, movable, blown out look, you obviously want like minimal. I would use probably a volumizer and then like a brushable hairspray. But if you're doing something that like you don't want it to move necessarily and you want it to last, there's a fine line. Like I would probably do like a root spray, like a root texture spray for volume, and then like not a lot in the ends. It totally just depends on what you're doing and like where you're going and what you're wearing it for. But I would say for the most part, I'm a minimalist because I think that like you get more volume and longer lasting, obviously the less heaviness that's on your hair.
Yeah.
So I always like to start minimal and build. So depending on what it is.
Sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
A question from Glenn. How are you handling things at the salon during the pandemic?
Thank you for asking. That's very nice.
Yeah, I think that's a nice question.
Again, it's been a roller coaster. For us, we got shut down with nothing. Like, we were not allowed to do anything. And at that time, we sort of tried to pick up doing more online stuff and selling things and doing curbside pickup, which ended up being really fun. We opened like a beauty bodega.
We talk about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
I love the beauty bodega.
And that was
all the
really nice
that you guys have. You offer a lot online.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was helpful also with other brands that like needed to get sold and stuff like that. So we basically wanted to open sort of like an upscale CVS where you could sort of get all of your like beauty things, whether it be razors or whatever you needed at that time. And then we got to open, but just hair for a couple weeks. So I was cutting hair then safely. And then everything was able to open again for maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that. We worked safely and then we got shut down again. So right now, as of now, we're shut down, but we are now
meaning the state of California.
In the state of Los Angeles. We're able to work outside, and we happen to have a great little courtyard. So we have 3 stations set up outside, obviously not as many as we normally would inside.
But that's so nice that you have that.
We have at least an option, and you know, our clients are really happy, and at least we can just like offer something for now, which is...
So 3 clients at any given time outside.
But oddly enough, retail's still open, so you can still come in and shop.
Right, you can walk in and pick up what you need. That's great.
So it's working okay for now. I mean, I think we're really lucky in that sense that at least we're able to still offer something.
Yes.
But yeah, hopefully we just kick this thing in the butt so we can go back to work.
We're all that's my biggest wish.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a few questions as we wrap up.
Okay.
You love nature and getting out into the outdoors. We talk about that too on the podcast. And when we did your client, Mandy Moore, for our cover story, she talked about hiking in a video that we did with her. And you 2 hike together a lot, right? Is that right?
We do.
And I'm curious, what was your last big hiking trip and where did you go?
Our last big
I just like
hiking.
trying to like live vicariously through these like stories of travel.
Totally.
What was your big hiker? What was your last big hiking trip?
Our last big hiking trip together was at Everest Base Camp. We got to go to Nepal and do the base camp trek, which took about 2 weeks. And we got to go with Eddie Bauer, and Melissa Arnott was our guide.
Oh, that's great.
It was amazing, and I will never forget it. We've had some really amazing adventures together that I literally
That is an experience of a lifetime. When was that? When
that was a year ago.
Yeah, however, I feel like that's what Mandy was talking about on our shoot.
Yeah. So it was probably right
almost
after.
A year ago. That's right. That's right. Okay.
But we get to hike together here in LA. So we just went on a hike a couple weeks ago. Closer to the west side in Los Angeles. So there's lots of hikes that we can go for. How long do we hike for?
Yeah, when you hike, how long is your
I'm usually the one that has to be like, okay, I'm tired. Like, she'll go forever. We did like just like a 2 hour.
Yeah, like a basic 2 hour.
She's got some long ass legs, and I'm like,
does, man.
Yeah. I'm like, so dang, girl. So it's good. It's fun. It keeps me.
I love that. I mean, that's the one thing about living in New York City that is tough. It's like, I have this side of me that always wants to be hiking somewhere.
Of course.
And it's not as easy to do. Okay. Final question for you.
Okay.
Are you doing anything fun this summer?
Oh,
do you have, fun plans?
I try to always do fun things. I like to adventure. So I've been taking the summer to camp and like go on adventures because that's all we kind of can do. And I thankfully really enjoy it. And it's been really nice that I can share it with so many people. Like so many people are doing it now because they have to. There's nothing else to do. So
Yeah.
it's been actually really cool to go camping and go adventuring.
How do you
and
do
get outside.
that? Where are you going? Like, are you
Everywhere.
driving somewhere?
Yeah,
with
just
tents?
driving.
Just driving.
Just driving. You'd be surprised how far you can get by car. That like you don't have to go that far to experience something pretty outside of your.
Do you have a favorite campsite or campground that you love?
I mean, I love Big Sur.
Yeah.
I love like the north coast of California. I
Like
also love Joshua
Tree.
Tree. I mean, yeah, all of that, and that's easy to drive to. But every other state, like I would drive to Jackson Hole. I would drive to Colorado. Like take the time.
It's a summer for camping. It's a summer for camping for sure.
Totally.
Ashley, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
you.
The
podcast is live. It's episode 46. It's
cool.
On Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on Stitcher, and it's on Google Play, and it's live now. And like I said earlier in the chat, you can also, if you click into the show notes, you can, there are links to some of the things that Ashley talks about, including her R&Co products, a link to the Strike website where you can see all of their curations.
Awesome.
And a number of other things. Thanks, Ashley.
I love it. Thank you so much. And thanks for staying up late.
Up late, please. I'm a night owl.
Okay, good.
Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.